Hello. Integrity, truth, justice and honesty. All these are such important values based on scripture in both the Old and New Testaments, based on teachings of Christ, giving us guidance on how we should strive to live our lives. As a teenager at school and at university, I enjoyed debating. I remember one speech I made while I was at school started with the quote, "What is truth?" said Pilate, and he would not wait for an answer. In Pilate's mind, Jesus spoke the truth, and he was innocent of any crime. But Pilate chose to reject the truth. It is a tragedy when we fail to recognise the truth, but it is an even greater tragedy when we recognise the truth but fail to heed it. Pilate thought that the truth was relative. Truth was whatever the majority of people agreed with, whatever helped advance his career and his own personal power. When there is no basis for truth, there is no basis for moral right or wrong. Justice becomes whatever works or helps those in power. In Jesus and his word, we have a standard for truth and for our moral behaviour. When I was 17, a long time ago now, I went on a school summer trip to the Houses of Parliament. Outside on the pavement were two guys with a massive container filled with ice, cold water and cans of Coke, the drinking kind. It was a very hot day, and they were selling these cans for in today's equivalent of £3.50 a can, when in the kiosk round the corner they were just under a quarter of the price at 80p a can from a fridge. Tourists were buying these drinks unaware that they were being ripped off. I explained what people could do, so they started buying from the kiosk. The guys began shouting at me, throwing water at me and throwing ice at my legs. This did not deter me, and the crowd began to grow. One of my friends stayed with me while the others went to join the rest of the school party. They knew I would see it through to the end, whatever that would be. I felt I was being honest with the public and giving them an informed choice to purchase their drinks. I felt sure these guys didn't have a licence to sell on the streets either. As time went on, I got very wet and the crowd got bigger, and eventually a police van drew up. I explained what was happening and the men were arrested and taken away. My friends still to this day talk about the incident, even though it was 44 years ago. I'm not really a rebel, but I have always had a passion to try to instill justice, truth and integrity. My own dad felt these were important qualities to strive for. This passion has been with me throughout my career, my work in schools, my work as a union leader, my work for the Department for Education, and my ongoing role as a magistrate. I don't by any means get it right all the time, but I have always striven for justice, truth and integrity, to listen, to weigh up the evidence and respond accordingly. Well, that's all very well, but what have I learned over the past 10 months in relation to all of this? Or rather, what has God taught me about myself and how I can change for the better? Well, there are many, many things. Living with our son who doesn't always put his dirty washing in the linen basket is one thing. Threatening to put up his rent has been most successful. But seriously, focusing on the areas of truth, honesty and integrity, I have learnt to be far more discerning about information journalists, social media and fake news have to say. I am sure I am not the only one who has been found shouting relentlessly at the television screen. I have now limited the amount of news I watch on television and the amount I read. I have learnt to weigh up the evidence put before me, just as I do in court. I also try to find the evidence for myself and seek the truth. The relentless negativity from the media has really got me down at times. We need a more positive attitude, a way forward and a pulling together. There is no perfect way through these dark, murky waters. No one body is perfect, but we can all move away from a negative, critical spirit, replacing it with hope, compassion and love, as I believe Christ would do. We are bombarded by so much information via the traditional media and social media. It is so important not to blindly accept what we read and hear, but to weigh up these truths to find the real truth. President Trump was probably one of the first people to flag up fake news, even though it could be said he is one of those people who is propagating fake news today. Honesty is marked as being free from deceit and untruthfulness, being sincere. The Christian life should be one marked with integrity, honesty and truth. Yet because we all sin and find it easy to do so, honesty is something we must all work hard at. An honest life is important on so many levels, from relationships with partners and children, our friends and at the workplace, and interacting with our neighbours. In fact, wherever God places us. Matthew 7, verse 16, tells us that we are known by our fruit. Let us be examples of a God of truth and life by living lives of integrity and truthfulness. I get it wrong so many times, but I will not give up. It's God's strength that I rely upon, not my own.